Magical Girl Incident Volume 1 Review. There's certainly no shortage of Magical Girl series available when it comes to manga, particularly with the comeback of Scarcopter Sakura in recent years and new takes on the genre like Makilomere Corporation Limited. So, it goes without saying that Yen Press's new debut, Magical Girl Incident, has a lot to improve with if it wants to attract readers. Will it be able to do the job? Let's take a look. The story follows Hiromi Sakura, a burnout salaryman who finally remembers dreaming of becoming a hero in his childhood years. One night on the way home from work, he sees a young girl being attacked by a monster and jumps in to protect her from a fatal blow. Hiromi is under no illusion that he's traded his life for the girls and is prepared to die so long as she's safe. But then something unexpected happens. Not only does Hiromi not die, he's suddenly transformed into a magical girl. There's no time to figure out what's going on, so Hiromi rolls with it and fights off the monster. Once defeated, Hiromi barely has time to transfer back to his normal self before being spotted by friend and co-worker Yuzuru Saitomi. Yuzuru finds it highly suspicious that Hiromi will be hanging around in the park after work. And when Hiromi begins acting suspiciously, at work the next day, Yuzuru decides to follow him on their next day off, thinking that perhaps romance is in the air. Of course, the readers are well aware that Hiromi is simply worked up about his newfound powers. He has no idea what triggered his transformation, nor why he swapped genders, but the protagonist is just happy to have been able to save someone, and even thinks his transformed form is adorable. For the first time in a long time, Hiromi is happy about his life. The first volume of Magical Girl Incident is particularly long, coming in at 172 pages, and by the time we get to the end of the book, it feels as if we're only just getting out of the initial setup. There are still a lot of questions regarding the bigger picture, such as why monsters are popping up in Japan and why Hiromi got his powers. And it seems he's not the only one, but the willing to let those nice scenes we have seen in his first outing is entertaining. The series divides its content fairly even between Hiromi's magical girl time and his day job. A large portion of each chapter takes place in the office, where he met Hiromi's dreadful boss as well as some new recruits who are brought up into his team later in the volume. I appreciate the way the story splits in time, and the fact that although Hiromi's work environment is very toxic, the series never lets itself get too bogged down in negativity. Writing in the magazine, Young Ace, Magical Girl Incident is a seinen series which is befitting of the darker vibe and older cast of characters. This is mangaka Zir Akabani's debut work, and they do a good job for toying the line between the comedy and a serious story. This middle ground feels perfect for it as, with the premise, it will be easy to end too dark and edgy, but likewise, an overly comedic tune will quietly hit the nuance of Hiromi's storyline. And maybe that's why, as the series goes on, most of the comedy comes from Yuzuru, who quickly finds out Hiromi's situation and wants to experience to figure out more about the magical girl powers. He's also rich. He has a lot of money to spend on set experiments. The artwork sometimes lacking on background detail, but Akabani excels in conveying the emotions of the characters, especially Hiromi's case where he wears his heart in his sleeve. The action scenes are easy to follow and make use of bigger panels and the rest of the story. I love Hiromi's transformation scenes too, which involve yanking off his tie to instigate it. But most of all, there's a real sense that Akabani is having fun drawing it as I watch Hiromi get excited about his powers and see side characters going all sparkly eyed as they encounter a magical girl for the first time. This is the first gender swap magical girl series to make it to the West. Magical Girl always springs to mind, but I don't think the author deserves praise for how they handle the aspect. In these kinds of story, when the male character becomes female, there's usually some grouping of boobs or comments about their new appearance, but no such thing transpires in Magical Girl Incident. As noted earlier, the most we get is Hiromi proclaiming that his female self is kinda cute, which is a very fitting and pure response for a protagonist, and will certainly make it go over better with readers. Well, we don't have to worry about any uncomfortable or sexualized comments. As previously mentioned, Magical Girl Incident Volume 1 comes to the West thanks to Yen Press. The series has been translated by Kyle Cook and later by Christie. The translation reads well, and there's a page of translation notes in the book which explains some of the references as well as the work culture of Japan. This release opens with a colored page and is one of Yen Press's biggest release formats, akin to Silver Spoon and Cold and Generic Romance. The series is finishing in Young Ace next month, which will see it conclude with its third volume. It may not feel like a lot of content, but I think, given what we've seen so far, that was still enough to deliver a satisfying conclusion. Volume 2 of the series is scheduled for English release in September. Overall, Magical Girl Incident may not have gotten far beyond its initial setup yet, but it's off to a promising start, with an older cast of characters compared to those we normally find in the Magical Girl genre, and second to attract a slightly different audience than usually those readers we have fun watching over Hiromi's efforts to become a dependable hero. Our review copy for Yen Price was supplied by Daibo Book Distributors UK, 9 out of 10.